The following movie is rated R.
Welcome back to the R-Rated podcast. Today's guest is Kennedy Hall, and we're going to be talking about acting and directing in your own film. So I wanted to just talk about, how you got started in acting, or if directing came first.
From the beginning.
Who are you?
Time.
Yeah. Like, what made you you? Like, all that.
I started acting first. Super young.
Yeah.
And stuff. Was a child actor.
Mm-hmm.
But was like in commercials, stuff like that.
No big deal.
Younger.
Just like I was in commercials.
When I was a kid, and I did like small theater stuff. But it's funny because I was actually always really, really shy and wasn't very comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
But my older brother loved acting, so I wanted to do it because of him.
Yeah.
And then when I started to like learn more about it and stuff like that, like in high school, middle school, and drama classes. Yeah. Then I was like, oh wait, I actually really like this. Yeah. I love being able to play different people and really dive into these characters. Yeah. So it used to be like when I first got into acting, it was more of an escape. Yeah. I wasn't the most confident person.
Really?
Yes, I was.
Okay, I actually would have never guessed that from you. Like, I just feel like you're like, hello, I'm here. Right. I mean, hey, like, that's awesome.
That's how it is now. But I used to be really shy, really self-conscious about a lot of things. Like,
everyone
my
is.
weight. I'm a thicker girl. I've always been thicker. That's always been a big thing. But it was more of an escape. I got to play these people that didn't have the issues that I had. I got to take on other problems or other things. And so that's like what kind of got me started into it. Yeah. And then it slowly became into like, I started to gain confidence and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? Like, I want to be able to showcase myself on screen. And other girls that look like me should be able to see themselves on screen. And so it became more so of that. And so I started taking it way more seriously and started taking my studies more seriously and really kind of just dove into it and to show respect for it,
Yeah, I love that. And so did you end up going to like a acting school, or did you just take acting classes? Like, how did you?
So in college, I went to the University of Nevada, Reno, and
shut up.
She's educated.
I love it.
But I went there for school on a track scholarship. Actually, I was an athlete my entire life.
Athletic too.
Right?
I love it.
I was an athlete my whole life, which actually made it kind of difficult to like really get into acting the way that I wanted to.
Because it's like you have a lot of track meets and like track. I can imagine how it's like. What do you choose? Like.
Yes.
Track or acting? I guess you have to. Did you ever have to make that choice?
Oh yeah.
You're like,
all the time. I always wanted to do plays and stuff like that, like in high school, middle school, even in college, but I couldn't because I would have a basketball game or practice or volleyball or whatever it was. I was always busy, and my family is a huge athletic family. My mom went to the University of New Mexico.
Like my family. Like, not here.
Family is big on sports. Both my parents went to college in New Mexico my mom went for softball, my dad went for football on scholarships. All of like me and my brothers all went to school for, a sport on a scholarship. So sports was like huge. Right.
And nobody's done acting in the family.
No.
Okay, so you're the first.
No, I have like a cousin who is like this actress, but like,
got it.
But like she's a cousin. She's like my dad's cousin.
Right.
Like, I don't really know her that.
So when like you told your parents like I want to act or like I want to pursue acting, were they like, yeah, we support you, or was it more like, no, you should stick to sports, no. Like you're really good at that.
Yeah, it was definitely. It was definitely like in school and stuff like that. I tried to express like, I really like doing this. And they were just like, okay. And it just wasn't really, they didn't like take it in.
Hopefully she'll just, or like probably just thought it was a phase maybe, or like a hobby maybe in high school.
Yeah, something like that. Whereas, because like acting's not going to pay for your school. It's not going to pay for this. But
it could. Yeah. I know it's a risky job, but like I feel like if you honestly have the passion and the drive for it, you can do it. Like just go after it. Like don't let anyone think like you're like you believe your dreams are too big.
Absolutely.
Like, especially with the arts, a lot of people like, put that in your head like, oh, like you're gonna be a starving artist, and you're like, well, no, I'm gonna try to make it. Like, I'm not gonna starve.
So true. But yeah, it's like that's the thought is like the starving artist.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of how my family felt about it, and
Yeah.
they just didn't think it was a real thing
Yeah.
until I got injured in college and was released from the track team.
Oh,
so
shit.
yeah, so I lost my scholarship. I lost everything.
No way.
Yeah.
Even when it wasn't like your fault, you got injured, they take that shit away from you?
Yeah,
That's
they
fucked
do.
up.
Because they
Holy
can't.
shit.
You can't compete for them anymore, so you're no longer of use. So yeah, it's being a college athlete is you are very
that is
expendable.
stressful. Wow.
Oh yeah, it's
now I almost got the sport like stress of college, like all that. Oh my god,
being
I feel so sorry.
like any kind of college athlete, but being a D1 collegiate athlete is very difficult. There are a lot of pressures to it that a lot of my friends from high school like didn't understand.
Right.
And when I stopped, when I was released, my coach actually told me, she was like, well, maybe now you can actually focus on what you want to focus on, and you can focus on acting. And I was like,
do you feel like it was not like it was like a blessing in disguise, but like
it was definitely a blessing
like,
in disguise. It was
a push towards it.
Yeah,
like do you feel like if that didn't happen, you would have never maybe gone after acting? Or
no,
I
still would have gone, but it just would have taken longer. So it had always been. I had planned since I was in high school. I was like, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to graduate. I'm moving to LA. It's always been a plan.
Okay, so you always knew you were going to come here.
Yeah, I always knew I was going to come here. It was always
me too. I was like, I got to make it there somehow. I'm going to make it to LA. I don't know how I'm going to get there.
Exactly.
Like, now we're here.
Now we're here. We're good.
Now we just got to make it to the top.
Yeah. So. That was always the plan.
Okay, I love that.
Took a bit.
That's great. Yeah. And then, so when did you get into directing, or did you write your story, your script, and then you're like, I feel like I want to be the one directing this? Like, how did that come up? Like, yeah.
So with directing, I never thought about directing ever. I was like, I just want to act. I want to act. That's it.
Okay.
Like, I don't want to write.
No. Like, I love to know, like, hear about it, because I'm like, maybe you always had this dream of directing and then like acting in your own films, like, or maybe not. Like,
never.
You're like, no, never.
I didn't even know that you could do both.
No, girl, I'm like, that's why we're gonna get to the bottom of it today. I'm like, how did you do both?
There's
fucking
so many
Wonder
that
Woman over here.
I didn't know. I didn't know that you could do that. I go to find out that there's been tons of people that have done it. You know?
Which it's crazy, but I'm super excited to hear about it.
Yeah, and it's definitely been a process, but when I first wrote Still, my short film.
Is that your first one you've ever written?
Yes. Okay. This is the first film that I've ever written. Right. First anything that I've ever written.
So your baby, your first okay, that's exciting.
First ever.
Yeah.
And when I first wrote it, I didn't want to direct it. I wanted someone else to that I
So you could focus on acting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, that's all I want to do. I just want to act in it, and then I'll just hire everyone else.
Exactly.
Like, it'll be fine.
I'm not mad at that. No, that makes sense.
But in the process of writing it, when I got to the end, I was like, I don't think they're gonna see what I see. Yeah. And I'm very visual. I've always been a visual learner.
Me too. Like, I literally always look up. I'm like trying to envision it. I'm like,
yes, yeah, I'm a very, very visual,
totally get
person. It. So while writing it, I could just see the film in my head, and I knew how it needed to be shot, and I knew like just what it needed to look like, and I wasn't sure if I would be able to
like communicate that almost.
Yes. Yeah. And also, I just knew what I needed from my other actors in order to make it, really hit hard and really stick with you. And that's one thing that I've always actually really liked doing is like when friends would come to me and they have like auditions and stuff. Right. I love auditions. Like,
really? I feel like I'd be terrified. I'd be like, don't look at me, look at the other one. Like, turn around.
I love auditions. I love them. But that's the thing though, is that I think a lot of actors have problems with auditioning and because they don't like it. But that's like 90% of the job.
That is literally. Yeah. That's why I don't think I could be an actress, because I'm like low-key terrified of that. I'm like, you're judging me. I'm like, that's kind of what they need to do. Like, that's their job.
It's just part of the job. Right. But no, I love it. I love auditions. I love auditioning. Okay. I love helping my friends with auditions. Okay. And I love like coaching. And
hit her up if you have an audition.
But being an athlete, and like I've coached in the past too. I used to coach younger kids, and it just kind of like it just comes kind of natural. And I feel like if I had this vision in my head, I knew where I needed my actors to be. I knew where I needed to be. So then it was like, okay, well then why don't I just direct it?
Right.
And it never hit me. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah, I guess I could do that. I guess I could direct it myself.
Exactly.
And then I was like, all right, so what do I do
now?
It was like, I literally was like on YouTube, like researching, like, okay,
which is honestly one of the best ways to learn. YouTube, literally, like half the stuff that I'm like, even the stuff that I learned in film school, I'm like, wait, just to like make sure, like I'll go double check on YouTube. Or if I'm like, I don't remember if they taught us this, and then I go check on YouTube, and I'm like, I got it. Or if like new ways, like to do things, like different ways, like home, like ways to do it at home versus like needing a whole fucking studio to do it.
Yeah.
So, YouTube's amazing.
It is. There's oh my God, YouTube University. That's what it is. Yeah, seriously.
Like, I'll apply.
Right? There's so many ways to learn really anything that you want to learn on there. And it helped me so much just figuring out what I need to do. And I think one of my biggest blessings during this was just admitting when I don't know how to do something.
Oh, wow.
That's
really hard to do.
Yeah, there's like, people that all the time they
don't want to like
their egos get in the way, and they're like, no, like we're gonna do this my way. Honestly, yes, I worked on some projects. Yeah, but yeah, no, I think that's a huge fault that people have. Is not wanting to admit when they're wrong or when they don't know how to do something. Mm-hmm. But me, I was like, look, I don't know how to do it, so let's find someone that does. Okay. And let's find someone that can do it well. Right. So that was like my biggest thing throughout this whole process was like, okay, I don't know how to do it, but we're going to find someone that does. Okay. And then from there, it just kept moving. And I had spoke to friends who are directors, and I'm like, look, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't know what I need to do. Right. And one of my friends was like, okay, well, do you have this? And I was like, well, yeah, because I found someone because I didn't know how to do it. And he was like, great. Now, do you have this? And I was like, yes, I got that the other day because I had my producer do this. And he was like, okay. And I answered every question that he had. And he was like, you sound like you're doing just fine. Yeah. And I was like, really? Okay, I guess so.
And most of the like director's job is really focusing on the performance of the actors and really bringing out that emotion. And since you have experience acting, I feel like it almost maybe be easier for you to bring out those emotions, or like, I don't know, maybe you have like techniques and stuff that like actors have that like, you know, I don't know, because I don't have any acting experience like that. So I'm like, maybe there's some techniques or things, you know, that you could say to the actors to really bring that like tearjerker out. You know?
Yeah, there's definitely been some things. I mean, in Still, there are a lot of very emotional scenes. Yes. And my lead actor, Duran J. Powell, who's
shout out.
Absolutely incredible. He's amazing. Yes. He's so incredible. He's such a talented actor. Yeah. But even then, like, we still would have moments where I would speak to him about certain things where he needed to be in a scene, and you know, he's a professional. He did all his work. He did everything that he needed to do. But we still like worked it, you know, like you still have to work those things. Yeah. And through rehearsals and stuff like that, it was great. Like, we just had this level of trust. Yeah. And I think that every director and actor, you know, they need to have trust.
Like, exactly.
And that was one of the biggest things. The night before we had our really big day, the really big scene, we were rehearsing, and like we were just on the phone, like I was like rehearsing, but really we're just on the phone talking. And he was just like, I'm nervous. Like, I just want to make sure that I can get to where I need to be and that everything is good. I'm where I need to be emotionally. Mm-hmm. And I was like, look. All we have to do is connect to each other. And I promise you that I will give you absolutely everything I have in order to get you to where you need to be.
Wow. That give me chills. Yeah. Oh my God. Leaving the eye was saying that, I'm like, holy shit, okay.
But it was just a moment that we had, and we literally made a vow to one another that we would give each other everything that we had that day, and we did.
I saw it.
And it was beautiful, and it was a lot at the time. But like, as one, he's my co-star, but he's also my actor, and it's not like it's my job to make sure that he is where he needs to be, and vice versa. Actors, you need to be there for each other. You need to sharpen each other's swords. And then as a director, you need to make sure that your actors are getting to where they need to be. So
yes, I love all that. Very good points. So where did the inspiration for Still come from? Like, I know you've been working on it for a while, but like, how did it start? Like, was it something random, something you saw, something you went through? Like, where did it come from?
So, my inspiration for Still is actually my biggest nightmare.
Okay.
My biggest nightmare, and it's a fear that I've had for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to say too much, obviously, for people.
Course.
Yeah,
of course.
But the premise of the movie, it's a fear. It's a real life disaster.
Exactly.
A real life horror story.
Yes.
And I really wanted to focus on that because often we think of horror stories being, ghost stories or the Chainsaw Man chasing you, So,
right.
But there's so many things that are much more terrifying than that.
Real stuff is more terrifying to me, honestly.
Exactly.
Like not necessarily like a ghost like chasing after me, or like in the movie is not my hair. Like, it's not necessarily gonna freak me out. But like, stuff that actually happens, like, getting mugged or robbed or anything, walking in a dark alley by yourself and like knowing that someone's behind, like that shit scares the shit out of me because that's real.
Horrifying.
You know what I mean? Like real life situations that we have to think about every day because we're girls.
Absolutely.
Like actually I carry a taser in my car because I'm like, I don't trust
There's so many things, especially being a woman. And there's all these fears that we have walking around with us on a day-to-day basis. And that was my biggest fear. Yeah. And so I decided in like kind of a therapeutic way to like kind of tell this story. And it just started in an acting class of mine. Okay. We did an exercise, which is called Last Words. And it's improv. It's all improv, but you would... essentially, you'd have your partner in class, and then you would then tell them whatever last words that were like you were seeing them for the last time, whether they knew. I decided to like have my husband come in the room. I was pregnant, just had a baby, and everyone was expecting my last words to be to the child, but instead, they were to my husband. And so it was this huge thing, and it was amazing.
And nobody was expecting it.
And no one,
so you're just like, what?
And people were like, was this rehearsed? Like, did you write this?
Did I just walk into?
And it was like, I feel like in acting classes, often when you have a very dramatic scene, a very emotional scene, as an actor, you watch it and study it. You don't necessarily like, it doesn't always hit you unless it's like, oh my God, this was really good. And there was like sobbing, like my class was like sobbing, and it like I was like,
which you delivered that same performance on set as well when you were shooting that scene, because I know you talked about it a little bit on set and like told the same thing. I mean, obviously we had to be quiet because like we're on set, so we couldn't be like, oh my God, but like you could feel the energy like in the studio like just shift, because it's like, whoa, like it like it's acting, but like it almost felt like it was like real. You know what I mean? Like I was doing wardrobe, by the way, for anyone who wants to know. So I was doing wardrobe, sitting in the wardrobe room, and like obviously like you're in the other like room, but I could still hear it because like the ceilings aren't there.
Yeah.
And you could just hear the intensity and like how everyone just like gets silent and is like respecting the space, but really also taking in what's happening. And it was just like, and like I didn't even see it. I could just hear it. I could just feel it. And I'm like, holy shit. Like you could just, you know, it's like, wow. Like so it felt so real. Like it didn't feel like it was a performance. Like it just felt like shit. Like did this almost like happen? Like I almost was like, hold on, reality check.
Yeah.
But no, it was just a great performance. And it was really amazing to see also because I was like, how is she like performing like that? And then like able to snap into like director mode. You know what I mean? It's like that's a lot.
It was really difficult, especially that day.
Yeah.
Because like, of course, at the beginning of the day where we had like scenes that I wasn't in, I was able to direct and you know, have my director's hat on and be able to do that.
Right.
But once we were stepping into my scenes, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to snap back into that director's seat.
Because it could take you out of that like scene, especially if you're like in this dramatic moment and it's like, okay, director, it would just be like, wait, what? Like, So I'm glad that you had like people that you trusted on your team that were able to like make your dream and like, you know, what you had seen in your head, like come to life. Because honestly, not having a team that like you can feel like could deliver that would just be terrible. Like, so, and like you wanted to direct it because you were worried about that. So like not even having those other like, you know, team players, like it's very like important. So amazing that you're able to have that as well and trust your team. How did you like prepare for the shoot before like everything? Like, did you spend more time like preparing as an actor or more like the pre-production for a director type stuff?
Definitely pre-production as
definitely.
I learned a lot about pre-production. Okay. Like I knew that there was a lot that went into a film. Right. I knew that. But I just didn't know how much, you know?
Right. What did you know about like what a director does versus like what you didn't know?
So honestly, the only thing that I knew is that like the director, this is like my I was like, the director tells the actors what to do and they yell action and cut. Like that was like me. And then like at the end, they like decide how the story's going to be told like through editing. And then at the end, you know, like that's what I was like.
Just go into it blind. We'll figure it out later.
And they have all these amazing ideas of how things should be shot. Right. And like, that's why like it's always like the actors and directors that get like the praise. Actors, directors, and writers, I would say.
Yeah.
But I just didn't, I didn't know. Yeah. I really didn't know. So going into it, I just surrounded myself again with people who knew much more than I did. Yeah. Like I didn't go to film school. I didn't, you know, go to school for any of this.
You don't have to go to film school to like be in the film industry.
You don't. Right? You don't at all. I mean, like we were saying, YouTube University.
Exactly.
But you don't have to. But it definitely helps, I'm sure, you know, just surrounding myself with people that knew more than I did. But people that understood my vision and respected it and respected me going into it being a first-time director and not knowing what I was doing. Right. So easily I could have had people that was like, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing. Right. Like, we should be doing it this way. But that's not how it was at all. Exactly. Everyone really respected me. Vision. Yeah, and respected my vision. And if I had a decision that I had made, they respected it. And it was, we all just, you know, had that mutual respect for one another.
And I saw that on set as well. And when you were rehearsing with your actors, did you like, okay, because like you were in were you in all the scenes in the film, or like were there like
almost all? There's like 5 scenes that I'm not in myself. Yeah.
Okay. So when like the scenes that you were in, how did you like jump, like not on set, but like during rehearsal time, how did you like go back and forth as like acting and directing? Like, was it like, not that it was like, oh, like they're my friends and I have to like direct them. Like, was it weird ever? Like, or was it just they like got it? Like, okay, like I'm acting with you in the scene, but like I didn't like the way that like worked out. Can you like do like that? Like, is that how it played out?
It's a very, I mean, like I've said, I've had coaching experience in the past. Both my parents are teachers. And so there's like, you give 3 compliments and 1 critique. Okay. You know, that's kind of like how I go with it. So the way that we would do our rehearsals was a big thing for me because I wanted to make sure that when we got on set, we were good to go. No one was worried about lines. No one was worried about any of that stuff.
Should not be worried about lines on set.
Exactly. So we just would block it out and then do it, kind of thing.
Okay.
And so rehearsal was super important because the first run through that we would do of a scene or the script, I also broke it up into different scenes so that I wasn't holding everyone, you know, for an hour a day. It was just whoever needed to be there was there.
Okay. Got it.
So, which allowed us to have more time to focus in on what we were doing. And so what I would do is the first read through, my director hat would be on. Yeah. You know, I would read through the lines and I wouldn't necessarily be like as emotional as I would if I was just focusing on acting because I was focusing on my other actors. Exactly. And like focusing on where their performances needed to be. So we would do a run through. I would say, look, that was awesome. I love that. I loved what you brought in here. When you said this, that was perfect. I love this. Now, next time, let's try. Why don't you go ahead and try this? Or I noticed that you were bringing that out a little bit and I really liked it. Yeah. So how about let's turn that up a little bit next time? Exactly. So it's always it's never like pointing out like, hey, I like that. Exactly. You always want to encourage, I feel. And I'm never going to be like, oh, well, that was shit. I hated that. Exactly. I'm always going to be like, all right, cool. Exactly. So this is what I liked. And now this thing, how about we try it this way? Right. Instead of saying like, well, I didn't like that. Or this part, you didn't do this. You didn't. Because it doesn't.
You don't want the actors thinking like, okay, when I say this line, I need to make this movement. And then like turn it.
That's not what I want. I want you to be so natural. Exactly. That's a huge thing that even with writing it, like some of the actors would be like, is it okay if I say this instead of this? And I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. If it feels more natural to say that, then say it. Like
I go the same way about it too. Because like sometimes when I write scripts, I feel like, is this too dialogue-y? Like, is this too like, do people really talk like this? You know what I mean? So sometimes when the actors are running through it and like they say their own version, like their own, I don't know, another word, but it like totally flows and it works. I'm like, you know what? Let's go with that. Like, you're right. And the script doesn't really flow that well. This, I like that. Yeah. And I always like seeing them like run through the scene first and then giving input before just like going in as a director and be like, do this, do that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like,
that's not directing.
Exactly. That's just dictating. Like, that's dictating.
There's
that's
the
other D word.
There's a difference and there's a big difference. And I feel like a good director, like I can just imagine like Steven Spielberg on set and being like, hey man, okay, now like let's try this. Well, let's do it this way. How about we try this? Right. Like I could never see him being like, that was shit. No. Do it. You know, like I could never see
I would be
that.
like, I'm gonna cry.
Right. So like I just
think about how the actors would feel, like how you deliver like your critique, or even if you didn't like it, but if you come off too harsh, it's like they're gonna overthink it and then like be like.
And the last thing I want them to do is put up a wall.
Exactly.
They need to be open. As an actor, you need to be as open as possible. You need to have full access to every emotion that you could possibly need. And if you kind of like attack an actor like that, you are building that wall and you're then taking away like their trust in you and all these other things. And you're making them think of, you know, possible insecurities. And so, and everyone is different. Like being an athlete, I'm super used to people yelling at me and that's just the way it is.
I'm not used to people yelling at me, so if you yell at me, you're like, what did I do?
Yeah, like there's different ways that like, if you were like, Kennedy, I need you to get your ass in here, I'd be like, yes, absolutely.
Got it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'd be fine, but not everyone is like that. Right. You could yell at someone and completely break them down, and then they're messed up for the rest of the day.
Exactly.
So,
for real, I've seen that shit too. Like, it happens. Like, I've seen it all.
And that's not what I want. At all. So rehearsals, it was just, you know, giving the three compliments with the critique and really just focusing in on my actors for those first two run-throughs. Yeah. And then when I saw that they were where they needed to be, I'd be like, Great. Let's run it a third time. Now I'm going to be in it as I put my actor hat on. So
I'm here.
I showed up for the last one.
I love
but
that.
yeah, so, and that's how we would do rehearsals. We had rehearsals the full month. We filmed first and second week of April. And we had rehearsals starting the first week of March.
Right.
So that whole month, rehearsed the entire month. And and it was great.
Wow.
Everyone did an amazing job. And I'm so grateful for like everyone and just their dedication to it. All my actors were so incredible.
Yes.
And
yes.
They really brought the story to life and in such a natural way.
Exactly.
So
in such a natural way where it doesn't feel like acting at all. It literally just felt like everybody really was that person. So it's like amazing.
Yeah.
How did you direct yourself? You know what I mean? Like, how did you know, like, okay, this is the performance, or like, nah, tone it down a little bit, or like maybe you could give a little, like, how did you know? Like, how do you know that? Like, how do you know that? Like, you film yourself and then like, I'm just trying to figure it out. Like,
I'm really used to watching myself in auditions, honestly.
Okay.
I do a lot of auditions.
Yeah, no.
To take a lot of self-tapes, That's
what I was assuming. I was like, I'd have to like see myself. I'm like, I would totally set up a camera.
Yeah.
Film myself. Probably delete it right after because it's probably not good. But I would film it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what like I was used to. So I know when I'm connected.
Okay.
I know when I'm, there's just certain points to a story, to a plot line, to a scene that you need to be able to tell.
Yeah.
And every actor should know that.
Right.
And as long as every director, but as an actor, you need to know these points in the story and you need to know where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And you can feel it. You know when you're not connected. You know when you're not where you need to be. And there would be times on set where I was like, I would stop and look at David, who is my DP and who's absolutely incredible too, by the way. Oh my God, he's fantastic.
Shout out David.
But I would look at him and I'd be like, that felt fake. And he would laugh and he'd be like, no, it doesn't look fake. And I'm like, yeah, but it feels fake.
Yeah.
This feels fake. I don't like it. Let's do it again. Like, I wouldn't even watch it. I wouldn't even watch a clip. And then finally, I'd be like, okay, that one felt a little better. Like, let me see it. Let's just play it back. Let's play it back.
Right.
Ones that I was super unsure about, I always played back. I was like, no, I really need to see that. Like, let me see it. Let me make sure that everything's good. Yeah. And then we would move on versus other ones where I was like, no, that was good.
Yeah, you're like, no, I felt that one.
Yeah, I felt
you're
that
like,
one.
I'm exhausted.
Like, we were connected. I could feel it.
Yeah.
And also, I had David and Rebecca, my first AD. I had her there, and they would be like that. You were there. You were there. They would let me know, and I'd be like, okay, cool.
And it was good that you were able to like take it and not like be like, oh, like, why are they like saying, like, for example, there was a take that wasn't as good and they mentioned it just because they want it to be perfect, the films. And like, it's good that you didn't take it personal where you're like, why are they?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
There's never.
Because, like, as an actor, you don't want to hear, like, hey, that wasn't, like, you could do a little bit better. But you're also directing, so you need to also hear that. And know, like, hey, that wasn't your best take. Like, do it again. So, like, you don't want to, as the AD/DP, you don't want to, like, say anything, like, to cross those boundaries. But at the same time, you have to say it. Yeah. Like, you are directing and you are acting.
And honestly, to me, it's not crossing a boundary. Yeah. It's just making sure that everyone is paying the due respect to the story that needs to be told. Yeah. And I think that a lot of the problem that people have is their ego. I think ego is a huge thing. And to me, there was no room for ego on this set. Yeah. You if you got a big ego, you left that shit at home. Like, you left it at home, you closed the door, locked it, and came to set that day. Because there was just no room for it. And even there would be times where Rebecca would be like, hey, what if you think about this? Yeah. And then I'd be like, okay, all right, okay, cool. Gonna think about that. You're right, because I wasn't thinking. There's things, whereas like if my ego was there, I'd be like, she don't know what she's talking about. Right. It could have been that. But I was like, okay, cool. Took it in and then did it again. Exactly. And like watching playbacks and stuff, I was like, oh yeah, this is great. Like, this is where it needed to be. And she saw the one thing that I didn't, being in the scene, and she was able to give that to me. Right. So it comes back to trusting each other and having that respect for one another. And I just, those are like my biggest things. I feel like I've said it so much.
No, but
this,
it's true.
Yeah, it's such
like,
a big thing.
It really is. Because like people, I also feel like, you know, you, like you said earlier, you see the actors and the director kind of like they get the credit and stuff, but like there's a whole crew of people making this film. And I feel like, you know, like it's nice to talk about it and mention like all those people. Like it's a fucking team of people. Like you cannot make a movie by yourself. Like, yes, the director comes up with like how it's going to look visual. And yes, the actors bring the performance, but dude, like setting up a light, carrying all this like shit, like getting the right camera angle, making sure production design looks good, making sure the outfits look good, making sure makeup looks good. Like every little detail like is thought out and planned out. And you literally had to do that too.
Yeah.
Like, was it ever overwhelming for you or just like, I don't know if I'm like want to direct anymore, or were you always like, nah, you know what? Like, this is my baby. Like, I
was overwhelmed every day.
Honestly, like, I don't like if you're not overwhelmed, like, I don't think you're putting your heart and soul into it.
Absolutely.
You know, every project I've directed, I'm like, I'm stressed. Like, do I even want to do this? Like, am I a director? And then after, I'm like, oh, of course I love this. This is like what I love doing.
It's so true. There's so many parts where like. I was so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I also travel a lot for like my other work and stuff. And so it was like traveling on the weekend, traveling Friday through Sunday, working, and then also making sure that, you know, Monday through Thursday, I had everything done that I needed to be done because most of the time I couldn't be contacted.
Like I said, if you don't have a little bit of stress, if you don't feel like, what the fuck am I doing at least once? If you don't have a breakdown, meltdown at least once, I don't think you're doing it right, honestly. Because there's like so much to think about. There's so much to think about.
Especially now with like COVID.
That
was a very
your
big
first
thing.
Time too, having to add the COVID.
Having to add the COVID, and we had an actor that got COVID,
God,
it was like all these other things. But like every day I was overwhelmed. Every day I was overwhelmed. But it just got to the point where like I was like, I refuse to let negative thoughts sink into my head. Positivity, that was all I'm thinking. Like anytime a negative thought would come into my head, I would immediately say out loud a positive one. Like immediately. Like,
honestly, we should like live our days like that. Like if something negative comes to you, say something positive.
Yeah, because it's like
it's so easy to let that shit like take over your mind. Like a negative thought.
Absolutely. You can't and you can't help it. And I don't think it's fair to your mind to like have a negative thought come in and be like, no, that didn't exist. Like it did because it went through your head. But at the same time, like don't let that sit and fester. Don't focus on it. Instead, like then I would then say like a positive affirmation out loud. Like if something would come in and be like, oh, the shoot's gonna get fucked up and blah blah blah.
I'm like me every day.
I would then be like, take a deep breath and be like, this is going to be the best project like that I have filmed. And I'm really big on like I am, because I am is like, you know, the positive, the creator. Let them go. But then I would let them go. I wouldn't keep them in my mind and let them fester. I'd let them go, and then I would say something positive after. I just really kept on with that. And I, even with my actress that had tested positive, she was freaking out in the beginning too. And I had to let her know, like when we had our first like production meeting after she had tested positive, I was like, hey, so I just want to talk to you. These are some things that we're discussing about possibly recasting or pushing the shoot back. And she like freaked out because she was like, you can't, like, I don't want to be recast. And I was like, but don't worry about like I had to like you know, be really calm. I was like, I know, and don't worry, like I'm not gonna let that happen. We're really gonna focus on this. But it was I had to be so positive for like everyone else around me and myself.
That's
to be
lot.
Like that. Oh, it was a lot. It was every morning I would wake up and work out, and I feel like my trainer was like a therapist at that point. Because I'd be like, all this stuff is going on, and oh my God. But like, as I'm like, I'm letting it out though, but still like in a positive way. You know, like I would let it out, and then I would be like, okay, well, this is going on, but everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be okay. And I would always, you know, end it with something positive.
Okay. So would you say that was your biggest challenge then? Like,
Yes,
yeah, because that was a pretty big challenge.
Yeah, that was a pretty big challenge to deal with. And I definitely had to put my foot down several times.
Right.
Like, we're not recasting.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And if you have a problem with it, you can leave.
Right.
And it felt weird saying that.
Was there ever like a point where you're like is it like crew or actor, or like was it always very supportive, like even when you made the decision of like
they were still very supportive, because they were like, all right, well, I mean, yeah, if this is the way that you're gonna run it, then okay.
Yeah.
And it was, and then at the end of the day, she came back, she tested negative, like she had like 6 negative tests to show us. She was like, I'm good. Okay. And we were like, okay, great. But like it was always like that. I always had like, you know, this fear that she wouldn't have been able to do the film and that we would have had to push it back. But I felt like with me almost demanding positivity from everyone else, that it you like
manifested it.
Yeah, I manifested it. Exactly. Yeah. And I'm huge on manifesting.
Me
so
too.
I would literally envision her calling me and being like,
envision me. I love that.
Tested negative. Like, didn't even make it to set. It was just a phone call. It was a text. I would just envision that. And then it happened. And then she tested negative, and we were able to shoot on time, and everything was good.
Wow. Yeah. And you had no problems like homeowners and like location. Because honestly, when I direct, I feel like for some reason I always have some kind of issue with the homeowners. Like they say it's like really chill to film there, and then like they'll be like, "Don't put a Gatorade bottle on my table." It'll be like the silliest thing. Yeah. And you're just like, like,
I think that, I mean, for the most part, our homeowner, it was really funny because at the place where, you know, was a private residence where that we had filmed, we showed up 6:30, like, you know, ready to go. And I guess there was like already like a noise complaint.
I actually heard about that.
It was really funny to me.
Super early, like at like, when was like call time? Like 6:30, 7:30?
It was like 7 for I think it was 7, but we wanted to make sure everyone else, we had to like clean and make sure everything was good at 6:30. Right. But it was just funny to me that there was a noise complaint because at that time there was only my COVID compliance officer and I think my gaffer and DP. There's 3 people there. And they had like just pulled up.
They're like, where do you want the lights? Shh.
Exactly. So it was really funny, and like to me, it wasn't a problem.
It wasn't a problem, right?
It wasn't a problem. I laugh
like
about it.
You don't consider those problems.
I don't.
Right.
I don't.
Okay.
And even like the homeowner was like, well, you guys showed up at 6:30, so now you're ending at 6:30, and we were like, oh no, but we paid for this whole thing and we had to come in clean because of COVID. So like, that's why we're here extra 30 minutes.
Right.
We talked about this.
See,
but
you talk about it with them. And then when you get to set, it's like you never had a conversation. Which is so fucking like,
it's really annoying. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what?
Whatever.
How much is it for another hour?
Okay.
And that's all it was. Like, that's all it was. My AD had come to me and she's like, okay, so this is the problem. Da, 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 da. What do you want to do? Now we're going to have to rush. Now we have to do it. And she was like, and I feel that's AD's energy, you know, it really is. Like they're always like
that, like,
come
on, we're on a schedule. Because they want to make your vision come true. And it's like, you know, as a director, you want to be like chill, lenient, like, you know, like not like, no. But like the 80s, like, if you want that vision, no.
Exactly.
Like, oh, shit, okay.
They have to be like that because I can't be like that. Exactly. But she was like, okay, no, we're going to do this and all this stuff. And I was just like, okay. So how much is it for another hour? And she's like, I didn't even think about that. And I was like, yeah. Figure it out. Yeah. Let me know. I'll pay it.
See you later.
Whatever. Like, and there's some things that I should have been a little more lenient on because, like, budget-wise, it was we did go over budget. There are things with, like, that I'm still paying for now.
Girl, but, I went over budget, too. It always happens. You need contingency, like, all the way. Always count on contingency. Like, whenever you think it's going to cost, like, $10,000, it's probably going to cost 12, like, at least.
At least. I think our budget for this was for everything. Yeah. Like,
what was it?
Post and like
For the whole thing.
The whole thing, it was
12,000. Yeah. Which is very, that's perfect. Like, honestly, I could see. And you had a studio location too, which the locations totally see where your money went in that. And then, like, you know, you had to get, like, you had to pay everyone. That adds up. Yeah. Paying food for everyone. That adds up. Extra COVID stuff, like sanitizer.
Yeah, extra COVID stuff. I was like, man.
Oh, I know. Girl,
there's so many things. It all adds up and all adds up very quickly.
Like, no one knows, like, in the film industry, you can spend $2,000 like it's $2. Like, it's like do not give me a freaking card. Do not give me your wallet when I'm shooting a film. I will I can spend all of it. No,
so quickly,
and I will find a reason for why I need it too, and it'll make sense. And you'll be like, yeah, she does need it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like, you're like, I need
this, and it's crazy. Like, it's all these things that, like, But at the moment, I was like, no, we need this. So like. My go-to was like, I'm gonna figure it out. That was like my line, which is of life. Everything. Like, you just have to go about life like that. I'm gonna figure it out. Yeah, I'm gonna figure it. Kennedy, what about this? Yeah, I'm gonna figure it out. Yeah, like I'm just big on, like, what do we need? I'll get it for you. Just let me know how much. Like, I will find a way. I'm gonna figure it out, and I'll get it. Like, just to make sure that everything is the way that we want it to be. So that was, I mean, budget. I feel like budget is always a huge thing. And since you were, I'm assuming you were funding the whole movie. So I feel like that is another stressful thing to take on, because it's like, not only are you acting, not only are you directing, but you're also the fucking whole, like, reason why this movie's happening. You are like the financial, you're the bank. So it's like, if you don't have the money, like, it's not happening, right? Yeah, so, like, did you ever, like, to it? Did you ever feel like my vision might not happen because of money-wise? Because that's always the worst. Oh, absolutely. For the longest time, I was like, okay, I want to shoot this, but I want to shoot it the right way. I don't have enough money. I can't. Ooh, we're not going to do it. Yeah. And my best friend, Tiana Tuttle, who's in it, who plays Claire, she's incredible. She has really helped me with this project. She donated money to it. She donated $2,000, which was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, that's a nice donation. Yeah, it was incredible. Like, she donated $2,000. My uncle donated $3,000. Amazing. Shout out to you. Yeah. Dr. Sam Coleman. Thank you so much. He donated money. Freddie Bass Knight, who is like a huge guy at NIFA, you know, a while ago. I feel like everyone knew him. Right. But I met him on set on a film, and, like, ever since then we've been cool. He donated to it. Like, I was very lucky to have people believe in me and donate in it. And then the rest, it was just money that I had saved up and, you know, and then money that I just kept getting afterwards. Had to make sure that we were good to go. Gotta figure it out, right? Gotta figure it out. I'm gonna figure it out. So,
I mean, those are a lot of things to worry about, you know, like money, like, how is it gonna look? Like, how am I gonna bring the performance? Like, COVID, like, all kinds of stuff. So you definitely had a plate full of things, but I think you executed it really well. What were, like, some benefits for you, directing and acting, I guess? Like, were there any benefits versus just acting?
I mean, definitely being able to steer the story in the direction that I felt that it needed to go. Yeah. There has been times that I've been on set where, like, a director would say something and I'd be like, what?
I hope actors never feel that way.
There's been times.
What did she say?
Yeah.
What did she want?
There's been times like that. And, I felt like I couldn't give any input. Like, I felt like I couldn't be like, hey, you know, I feel like my character would do that, or like, I felt like I couldn't do that, you know?
That sucks.
Whereas, like, on my project, if someone was like, hey, I feel like, I'd be like, definitely. Yeah.
If you feel that way, that's probably right.
Then yes. Then there would be certain things where like, if they're like, hey, like, I feel this and this and this, and I'd be like, yeah, maybe not too much of that, but definitely an aspect. Like, I would always, like, validation is huge, and I feel like all actors need validation. So I think it's really big, and I feel like, you know, when you cater to your actors in that way, they're just going to perform so much better for you, you know?
Exactly.
So
show them some love. Give them a hug. Tell them they're doing good, you know? Like, you're
scratch their back and they'll yours.
Exactly. So, exactly. Moment of truth. Did you enjoy directing or acting more in your film?
Or for your film? It's hard.
I know it's a hard question. You don't have to.
It's so
it's a lot
hard.
To think, yeah.
There's a lot to it because I love acting. Like
I know.
Acting
I know
will
you started
always be
right.
that'll always be my bread and butter. Like,
yeah.
I love it so much, and being able to finally tell the story and bring it to life and do what I've been wanting to do for like almost 3 years now. So it's incredible, and I loved being able to do that, and I loved playing a character that I was so familiar with and that like I just knew.
Did you base this character off someone? Because I know you based the story off of fear, but like the character, like do you know, like is it off anyone or is it just a creation from your mind?
It's just a creation. I think that the character is definitely a variation of myself.
Yeah.
So of course when you like played someone very similar to yourself, it's much easier in a way. Right. But I feel like Dee is more not even like emotional, but she's like a little heavier. Yeah. You know, she's a little heavier than like Kennedy is. Right. Like, I feel like I'm this like kind of light, bubbly, very outgoing, where I feel like Dee is a little more, I feel like Dee is my younger self.
Oh, okay.
But like grown up in a way where I didn't I didn't change as much. Like I felt like when I was younger, I was very shy. I was very to myself. I was very there was a very closed off aspect to myself, and I feel that if I wouldn't have met people in my life, like my acting coach, Constance Tilson, who's absolutely amazing. Like if I wouldn't have met her and she really helped open me up, I think that I still would be that person. I would be Dee. And so Dee is kind of that, what I viewed myself as a child, but you know, just as an adult.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, wow, that's really cool because, you know, since I've never really acted, I'm like, I can never even imagine like what it would be like playing that shy self. Because I honestly was a really shy kid too, and I feel like the reason why I like making movies is just to like really show like sides to me that I wouldn't regularly show, like day to day. You know what I mean? I'm like, I can do anything in a movie. I can like make this happen. She could have like a freaking hot pink room in the movie. Yeah. If there's any advice you could give someone who wants to act and direct in their own film, what would it be?
Definitely number one, if you don't know how to do something, it's okay. Surround yourself with people who know what they're doing, that you trust, that you respect, and then go from there, because you can't go into something expecting to know everything and know how to do it, especially if it's not your first time. Right. So definitely go in, you know, with as much positive energy as possible. And really surround yourself with people who can answer those questions that, you know, you don't have the answers to. Don't be afraid to ask questions. There's no stupid questions. Because I feel like I used to be scared about that too. Like even in school, I'm like, I want to ask this question. Like, I don't want people to look at me, or like the fear of like, oh, is it a stupid question? But honestly, it's like when it comes to like set, like there isn't like a stupid question. It's like, hey, like, should I like say this here, or should I feel this, or should I like, does this look right? Like, it's not really stupid. It's just like, how can we make the vision come to life as much as like you see it in your head? Exactly. You know what I mean? Exactly. There's no stupid questions. Just ask away. And you'll be good. And then second, leave your ego at home. Yes, leave your ego at home. Exactly. Because like, I know like when you're directing and you're acting, you have like that big title, but at the same time, it's like you're not like higher up than anybody else in the crew team. You know what I mean? Exactly. And I feel like people outside of the industry don't necessarily like see it that way or know it's like that, because it's not like outside of the industry. Like you're gonna see the actors, and so the actors are the biggest thing to you. Right. Then what's the next thing? Oh, the director, because I told like the actors what to do. And then what's the next thing? Oh, the writers. Like you know, there's like this tier, but at the same time, like going through this process and being an actor myself, like it is not about you. It is not about you. Like being the actor, director, sound, freaking whatever it is, production design, this story is not about you. So you need to do whatever you can possible in order to tell this story in the light that it should be told. You need to respect the story and respect those who've gone through whatever the story is about. You know, you need to pay tribute to them and honor
Make
those
it authentic.
people. Absolutely. And you need to honor those people, honor their experiences. So it's not about you. It's about the story. It's about the journey. So as long as you are putting everything into telling that story, then you'll be good to go.
Yay! I love that. That was honestly great advice. And I feel like everyone listening and watching can take a lot from that. And I hope it gives, everyone a little nudge to start acting or directing.
Absolutely.
Or both, like whatever, here we can do, the sky's the limit. Like
exactly.
Woman of million talents. So,
whatever
so
you put your mind to.
If you want to throw out your Instagram handle or any social media stuff to promote your stuff, and let us know when we can watch still and like where to look out for that.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely on Instagram, you guys can follow me at KennedyC.Hall, KENNEDY, C like a cat, .HALL.
Love that.
So you guys can follow me on Instagram. I'm there, and still will be coming out this fall. I'm so excited.
That's so exciting.
All the information of where it's going to be, where you guys are going to be able to view it, I'll be posting that on my Instagram as well and be promoting that. I have had several people come to me about distribution already, which is really exciting.
Are you going to do film festivals?
Definitely going to do some film festivals first for a year and then go into distribution. But,
amazing.
You guys will definitely be able to see the film here soon, coming up this fall.
Yeah, and she'll definitely be back, and we'll talk about more things, more topics. This won't be the last time you see her, so thank you so much again for coming on, and we'll see you guys next week.